Hello, everyone. So, all of us have gathered here for a good discussion, hopefully, on Mauritius. So, before getting on to our discussion, I would like to give a brief description about our department. So, our Department of African Studies was established in 1954 at a personal bequest of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. The mandate of the department is to bring awareness about Africa. Also, our department offers courses like MA, MPhil, and PhD through its multifaceted or multidisciplinary approach. Um, this one initiative of the University Diplomatic Dialogue is also by our Department of African Studies, University of Delhi. The main theme of this platform is to commemorate the independence of the various African nations on a monthly basis. Recently, I had the privilege of attending Professor Swaran Singh's lecture on India as a global power recently. So he used this statement, which I find is very apt in today's discussion as well. He said that great powers have great convening powers. So, our University Diplomatic Dialogue is one such platform that exemplifies or it showcases our country's interests, preferences, priorities, and also, the potential our country holds in bringing a change in today's international scenario. Today's discussion is on Mauritius, since we had Mauritius Independence Day on 12th of March. Before this event, we've already have conducted discussions on Ghana, Tunisia, and Gambia. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get on with that discussion.
On a lighter note, I would like to add great departments have also great convening powers. So yeah,
Yeah, what our example, that is our example, right, of a
yeah, yeah.
country. Hmm, true.
Abhinav, unmute yourself.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Abhinav, currently a research scholar at the Department of African Studies, working on the role of Africans in Awadh region in India during 1856 to 57. And currently, today we will discuss the uh, Independence Day of Mauritius. So, here is a brief introduction of Mauritius. Mauritius is a country in Indian Ocean at the nearby continent is Africa, and its capital is Port Louis. And there are multiple languages and many communities residing in Mauritius since very long time. And there are almost 50% Hindus, actually 48.5% Hindus, and 26% Roman Catholics, 17% Muslims, and 6.4% Christian and others. And there are many languages in Mauritius. So Mauritius is basically a melting pot of many communities, many languages, and it became a cosmopolitan country. And according to International Monetary Fund, Mauritius has per capita GDP per capita income at 12.77 thousand US dollars, and it has 1.2 million population. And there is a very interesting fact that Mahatma Gandhi also stopped over here in Mauritius from October 29 to November 15 in 1901. And if you talk about trade, so since 2000, 2005, India has been among the largest trading partner of Mauritius. And for the 2022-23 financial year, India exports to Mauritius was around 462 US dollar, 462 million US dollar, and Mauritian export to India was about 91 million US dollar, and total trade was about 554 million US dollar. And trade has been grown between these two countries around 132% in last 17 years. And mostly products India export to Mauritius are petroleum, cereals, pharmaceuticals, cotton, shrimps, prawn, meat, and main Mauritian exports to India are vanilla, medical device, needles, aluminum alloys, scrap paper, copper, and etc. Now we will discuss the brief history of how Mauritius became independent from. There were no people to colonize in Mauritius. Mauritius was normally an island, inhabitable island. So around 1500 AD, nobody was here to colonize, and Dutch were the first to come here and settled. So Europeans such as Dutch, Portuguese, French, and Britishers, many Europeans came here and settled. But Dutch was the first who came here and settled. And Dutch in 1638 named this island, decided to name the island Mauritius in honor of their Prince Maurice of Nassau of Netherlands. And they established the permanent Dutch settlement in this island. And the island was completely abandoned in 1710 by Dutches because they couldn't survive here due to natural things. But when the French left this island, when the Dutches left this island, so French then took over the island in 1715 and changed the name to Isle of France. And Mauritius became economically rich country, not country, but Mauritius became economically rich island during French occupation and settlement during this time. And during 1815, which was time of the Napoleonic War, island went into the hand of Britishers. And however, languages, cultures, institution, which were dominated by French, but the territory was officially managed by Britishers. And here many slaves were brought from Africa, Malay and other people, but Britishers abolished the slavery in 1835. Hence, indentured labor from India, Malay, China were brought here to sustain the economy of Mauritius. And hence, Mauritius became the melting pot of different races, different communities. And in 1920, a conflict arose between Indian community, which were basically sugarcane laborers, and versus uh, Franco-Mauritians. Franco-Mauritians were the elites, which were direct descendant of the French Europeans living in this island. And in 1936, Mauritius Labour Party was formed to safeguard the labor's interest. Mauritius Labour Party was formed by the laborers actually, and in 1947, a legislative assembly was created and elections were held in 1947. And this Mauritius Labour Party won the election, and hence elites Franco-Mauritians were outsided from the power. And again, a coalition of hence from there agitation from agitation for independence grew up again, and a coalition of Mauritian Labour Party and Muslim Committee of Action, also called as CAM, and Independent Forward Bloc (IFB), which was the party of traditional Hindus, were formed, and they won a majority vote in 1967. And hence, British rule ended in March 1968. New constitution was formed, but British Queen Elizabeth II remained nominal head of the state of Mauritius as Queen of Mauritius. And finally, on 12th March 1992, Mauritius proclaimed as a republic, and monarchy was abolished. From there, Mauritius is independent. And thank you. Now I hand over to Kajal.
And before Kajal, let me just point out something. Uh, the reason why so many indentured laborers were brought in Mauritius was in 1834, British Parliament abolished slavery. So suddenly there was a shortage of labor in Mauritius. And where else could they have looked for labor than the jewel of the crown, which is India? So from India, they brought in laborers in 1834 on Atlas and 72 first batch of indentured laborers. They were brought in from eastern uh, parts of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Also, the Independence Day date is very interesting. 12th March. 12th March also coincides with the launch of Dandi March, where the Dandi, the Salt March. So many people believe that it was kind of tribute because they were aware that Mauritius is anyway going to be gain independence. So they deliberately chose this date, 12th March, to coincide this with the launch of Gandhian Salt March. So yeah, Kajal.
Hello everyone, my name is Kajal Bhardwaj. I'm the master's student at the Department of African Study. And today I'll be sharing a bit of information about the shared culture of India and Mauritius. So the culture connection between Mauritius and India is deeply rooted by the shared history, shaped by migration, colonization, and the exchange of ideas. The basic idea about the shared culture comes from the indentured labor migration that happened in the 19th and the earlier 20th century. And these thousands of Indian laborers were brought to Mauritius by the European colonizer, primarily from the regions such as Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Andhra Pradesh. The colonial legacy of Mauritius was basically under French and later in the British rule, which facilitated the influx of Indian labor as a part of the plantation economy that was found in Mauritius. And the cultural interactions and the exchanges that occurred between Indian laborers and the diverse ethnic groups that were already present in Mauritius, including Sirol, Chinese, and Franco-Mauritians.
Uh,
I think our video got stuck.
Kajal,
Guys.
I think there's some network issue. I think you're not audible. Yeah, I think there's some network issue.
Should we just wait for her or?
I think sure, sure. Yeah, Kajal,
Yeah, I'm extremely sorry. The connection
that's
was
okay.
lost. I'm so sorry.
Please carry on.
So, as I was saying, that there are many efforts that are made by the Indian diaspora in the Mauritius to preserve their heritage culture, including language, regional music, and dance and cuisine. So, I would be talking or be touching these particular topics. So, the first one is the religious practices. So, as said earlier, that it is Mauritius is the melting pot of many cultures and religions coming together. So it can be clearly seen that there are many shared religious practices that are between Mauritius and India, illustrating how Hindu, Muslim, and Christian communities coexist and share their rituals and their ideas with each other. And there is presence of many Hindu temples, mosques, churches in Mauritius, reflecting to the religious pluralism inherited from India. Now, about the arts and craftsmanship. So, many celebrated artistic exchange between Mauritius and India that showcase traditional crafts like pottery, wood carving, and textile weaving, which is very famous as because of the fact that we have a great Indian diaspora living there in Mauritius as well. And Mauritian artists draw major ideas or muse from the Indian motifs, design, infusing creations of cultural symbolism and craftsmanship. And so same similarity can be drawn in the clothing and the fashion region as well. So the Mauritian and Indian fashion and the craftsmanship showcase adaptation from Indian attires like saris, kurta, pajamas, dhotis in the Mauritian wardrobe, which can be seen today as well. And traditional Indian textiles and embroidery techniques have influenced Mauritian fashions, bonding with local aesthetics to create distinct styles, which can be prominently seen in their dressing patterns and in their fashion as well. Major one part is language and literature. So the linguistic exchange between Mauritius and India particularly influenced Hindi, Bhojpuri, and Mauritian Sirol. And the preservation of Indian literary classics and the oral traditions, along with the Mauritian diaspora, they are still fostering and are one of the greatest shared culture heritage that can be seen in Mauritius. So from language it moves to the music and dances that are seen in Mauritius still day. The influence of Indian music and dance in the Mauritian culture, tracing its roots to Sega and Bhojpuri folk songs. There is a very distinct idea that is drawn from the Bhojpuri and the Sega form of music and dance that are found in our country. And traditional instruments just like tabla, sitar have found resonance in Mauritian music as well, blending with the local instrument to create unique melodic fusions in their own culture. The culinary delight, India and Mauritius exchange a very rich culinary traditions or culinary format from both the regions, in both fusion flavors and ingredients. Mauritian cuisine are influenced by Indian spices, cooking techniques, and very famous dishes like dhol puri, vindye, and Ketik's pigments reflects onto the various diversity of Indian culinary heritage that are found in Mauritius as well. And as Mr. Abhinav said, that these all things form a beautiful melting pot of many cultures that are shared from India and many other parts of the world as well. And they all accumulate in a very beautiful form in Mauritius in different forms and styles, which they have adapted over the time. So I would now like to hand over to Mr. Saurabh for the further.
Yeah, and before I call on Arti, one thing that I would like to add on the cultural part and the fusion of culture, history, society. It was reflected very, on 22nd January when at the occasion of consecration of Ram Temple in at Ayodhya, the Mauritian government announced 2 day off for the Hindu employees so that they can take part on the in their Hindi rituals. Also, interestingly, there is a Ganga Talao called and there's a Ganga Talao in Mauritius, which resembles the Ganga, the Ganges, which is very sacred to the Hindus in India. So the story goes like this: there one Pandit ji who went there as an indentured laborer, and when he came back, he made money, and when he came back to India, so he brought Ganga Jal and few sculpture Hindu deities sculptures to Mauritius, and there he established a temple and the great pond in the Grand Basin called Ganga Talao. And every year, on the occasion of Mahashivratri, around 500,000 people, mostly around 50% of Mauritius is Hindu. So around 500,000 people gather there for pilgrimage. So there's a very strong fusion of culture, history, religion, society, which is a great reason why India and Mauritius are very close to each other. Also, the diplomatic relations, as far as diplomatic relations are concerned, we established diplomatic relations long before the independence of Mauritius, rather 20 years before the independence of Mauritius. So Mauritius got independence in 1968. We established our diplomatic relations in 1948 on. In 1974, when the Britishers decided to, leave this space from east of Suez, and there was a security crisis in the region, Indian Ocean region. India truly emerged as the term that we very often hear nowadays, the net security provider in the region. So India established itself as the net security provider. In 1974, India offered India gifted INS Amar security vessel to Mauritius Coast Guard. India helped Mauritius in establishing the Mauritian Coast Guard, and the goodwill and the harmony and support that India and Mauritius has, the respect that India and Mauritius has for each other, is also reflected in the fact that the National Security Advisor to the Mauritian Prime Minister is an officer of RNAW. So, and it does not elicit any response, any critical response from the opposition also. So, it has been so deeply internalized, the relations between India and Mauritius, that it would make a great issue in any other country where your security advisor to the prime minister is from another country, but it doesn't elicit any response in Mauritius. So that reflects the linkages and how strong the connections are. And very recently, we have signed 4 packs, and only this month on 13th March, I think, the President Mumu was on a 3 day visit to Mauritius. Before that, also in 2021, we signed pacts on leasing the Agalega Islands. So before I proceed further, I'll just ask Aarti. Aarti,
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम आरती है। मैं अफ्रीकी अध्ययन विभाग से पीएचडी कर रही हूँ। जैसा कि हम आज बात कर रहे हैं मॉरिशस के ऊपर, मॉरिशस के स्वतंत्रता दिवस पे ये कार्यक्रम हमने आयोजित किया है और मेरे सभी साथी जो कि शोधार्थी हैं अफ्रीकन अध्ययन विभाग में, सभी आयाम पे उन्होंने कुछ कुछ चर्चा की। किसी ने सांस्कृतिक आयाम के बारे में बताया, किसी ने उसका इंडिपेंडेंस स्ट्रगल के बारे में बताया। तो अब जो मैं मॉरिशस और भारत के जो संबंध है या जो चुनौतियां हैं, दोनों मिलके कैसे चुनौतियों और जो संभावना है उनके बारे में मैं थोड़ी बात करूंगी। तो हम देख सकते हैं, जैसा कि पहले सभी शोधार्थियों ने बताया, कि सबसे ज्यादा मॉरिशस में हिंदू जो जाति है वो सबसे ज्यादा है। देख सकते हैं कि विगत कुछ वर्षों में भारत में पश्चिमी हिंद महासागर में द्वीपीय देश को सामरिक दृष्टि से भी बहुत महत्व प्रदान किया है। वर्ष 2015 में हम देखते हैं मॉरिशस यात्रा के दौरान प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी जाते हैं और महत्वाकांक्षी नीति सागर की शुरुआत करते हैं, सिक्योरिटी एंड ग्रोथ फॉर ऑल सागर। यह पिछले कई वर्षों
all in
में
the region.
ये पिछले कई दशकों में भारत द्वारा हिंद महासागर में किया गया एक महत्वपूर्ण प्रयास है। भारत के लिए मॉरिशस में सामरिक दृष्टिकोण से अपार संभावनाएं हम देख सकते हैं। दोनों देशों की साझेदारी गन्ने के बागान, वित्तीय सेवाएं, तकनीकी नवाचारों से भी कहीं आगे बात करती है। मॉरिशस अफ्रीकी यूनियन, हिंद महासागर रिम एसोसिएशन, हिंद महासागर आयोग का सदस्य होने के कारण इसकी भूमिका न सिर्फ सैन्य है बल्कि भौगोलिक आर्थिक दृष्टिकोण से भी एक इम्पोर्टेंट रोल प्ले कर रहा है। बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका है इसकी। अगर हम इसका भारत और मॉरिशस संबंधों के भविष्य के बारे में बात करें तो आगामी समय में अफ्रीका में भारत तथा निवेश बढ़ने के आसार हैं। इस स्थिति में भारत की अफ्रीका में पहुंच सुनिश्चित करने में मॉरिशस की एक महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका है। अभी तक भारत ने हिंद महासागर के वनीला द्वीपों, कोमोरोस, मेडागास्कर, मॉरिशस, सेशेल्स, रियूनियन द्वीप के साथ द्विपक्षीय आधार पर बातचीत की है। यदि भारत उन्हें संयुक्त रूप से एकत्रित करने की कोशिश करता है तो भारत की इस नीति में मॉरिशस की एक महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका होगी। धन्यवाद।
Yeah, thank you, Arti. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Saurabh. I'm doing PhD from Department of African Studies, and my topic of I completed MPhil from this department only. So my topic of MPhil was also related to Mauritius. Uh, my topic was geostatistics significance of Vanilla Islands. So Mauritius is a very important part of the Vanilla Islands group. And in PhD also, I'm pursuing research on Indian Ocean security architecture, in which I'm trying to locate the aspirations and the challenges that Mauritius faces in the region and how it comes out in the larger picture, in the Indian Ocean security architecture. So we had a very good discussion, and for all the viewers, I would like to recommend some literature books if they want to gain more insight on Mauritius. And first of all, they should look at my dissertation if they want to get a better understanding. Jokes aside, uh, there's a book called Pehla Girmitia, which gives a great deal of understanding on the history of Girmitias, although it is focused more on the Gandhi's life and work, Gandhi's life in South Africa, but it also gives you a certain an idea about the entire history of Girmitias, the indentured laborers. K.M. Panikar, our independence struggle hero, he also wrote few books on Indian Ocean. So we can read those books to get a better idea of Indian Ocean, the little states. So not only Mauritius, all the little states of the Indian Ocean, be it Seychelles, Madagascar, and all. So he provides a great deal of idea on those islands also. Very recent book called India's Ocean, written by David Brewster. So it kind of juxtaposes India's aspirations and India's role as the net security provider with the Chinese aspirations, and there's a growing contestations of India's necklace of diamonds policy, ring of pearls policy, and how is it going to disturb the already fragile ecosystem of the. So these are the few books which I would recommend everyone to get a better understanding of Mauritius. And I think with this, on this note, we can end this discussion, and we look forward to more such discussions on India Mauritius ties. We hope that these initiatives will help in fostering the already strong ties between India and Mauritius. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us for this discussion. Thank you.